Hello and welcome back. I believe today's video is going to be an amazing video. Amazing because I've never done something like this before. That's one. And the second is this video is inspired because of somebody, and that somebody is Phil Smith. He is a subscriber of this channel. And what exactly happened that it made me make this video? Well, Phil has been commenting on my videos for the last couple of weeks, all amazing comments. But there's one particular comment which caught my eye. I'm going to read that comment. And perhaps you will agree with me. You can check the comment on the screen. I've enlarged it for you. The comment is, as I explained already, I'm retired now and wanted to learn something to keep me occupied. I'm going to watch your full course of videos because I have a project in mind that I would like to attempt. As a beginner, it may well be beyond me, but I would like to try all the same. What I want to do is create some code to make a quiz in Excel. I'm not sure if it will be multiple choice or not, but I want to have a go. Maybe some modules that could cover parts of this project. Only if you have the time and you are not busy with other projects. Thank you. So there are two things about this comment that made me think about it. First, this gentleman is retired. And at this age, he is trying to learn something new, and especially VBA. And not only that, he wants to create an application based on whatever he's learning. So I found it really inspiring. So even now when I try to learn new languages, I find it very difficult. So kudos to this gentleman, and it's really amazing. Also, what I thought was probably I'll search YouTube videos and let me find out if there are any links which talks about this kind of quiz application. But I was kind of surprised. I couldn't find a single video. In fact, I was rather disappointed with all the videos that I saw. So I decided to create this video from scratch. Now, why was I disappointed? Because when you think of a quiz application, there are certain things that it should have. It should let the quiz master set the number of questions. It should let the quiz master to set the time for the questions. It should let the quiz master to maintain a database of questions. And finally, when the participant finishes the quiz, he or she should be able to see the score and also see where he went wrong. So all these small things make a good quiz application. So here's what I'm going to do. In the next 1.5 hours approximately, I think I should be able to do that. In that 1.5 hours, I will make the application from scratch in front of you. I will be discussing the application, explaining my thought process, and I'm going to create that application. So just give me 20 odd minutes so that I can download a couple of icons that I'm going to use in this application. And I'll meet you guys in about 20 minutes. The current time is 12:20, and over the past 20 odd minutes, I have downloaded some icons and images and edited them using the Microangelo and Photoshop. I'll be using these in the app I'm about to create. My goal is to build a visually appealing quiz application within the next hour and a half approximately. Now, to think of it, some of the key features that the app should include can be, it should have a database to store questions and answers. The quiz master should be able to set the number of questions. The quiz master should be able to set a time limit for completing the quiz as well. And let's say at the end of the quiz, the app should show the score along with details on where the user made mistakes. The quiz should be timed, and if time runs out, the quiz ends automatically and the results are displayed. So if we can implement all these features, we'll have a solid quiz application. So let's work on that. To start, I'll create a blueprint to clarify our approach before diving into the coding. I'm going to open Paintbrush. There it is. And here we'll sketch out the structure. So we'll need 4 sheets. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. The first sheet will have our database. Let's call it database. The second will be, let's say, set quiz, where the quiz master should be able to set the quiz. Then let's say, okay, so these 2 sheets the quiz master will have access to. Then there should be 1 sheet only for the participant to take the quiz. So we'll have take the quiz sheet as well. Okay, do we need any other sheets? Yes, 1 more sheet which we'll call quiz. So this particular sheet will have the selected questions from the database which will be displayed on the form. So these are the 4 sheets that we should have. And now let's think about the user form. So when the user clicks on, let's say, take the quiz, he should get a welcome screen. And from the welcome screen, he should be taken to the quiz user form. The welcome screen will have information about how many questions are there and how much time will this quiz take. The quiz will have the actual questions and the options where the user can opt in for. From quiz, there will be an option to go to the score. That is, when the user completes when the participant completes the quiz, then the participant can go to the scoreboard. And after the scoreboard, or rather in the scoreboard, what we can do is we can also display the questions and the answers, and also the answers which the user gave. This way, the user can compare and see. I keep on saying user, participant. The participant can compare and see where they went wrong. So we will need 3 user forms as well. I think this should be a good starting point, and I'll adjust things as we go if needed. Oh, and before we begin, just a quick heads up. I live in a noisy area, so you might hear dogs barking or cars honking in the background. Apologies for that in advance. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to launch Microsoft Excel. And so as per our blueprint, we need 4 sheets. Okay, so let's add them. The first sheet is the database. The second sheet that we have is set quiz. Okay, and the third sheet is take the quiz and quiz. So 4 sheets are ready. In the database, I'm thinking of the headers that we can have. So let's have serial number, then let's have question, and then the 4 options. Let's say option 1, and I'll drag this, option 4, and the last column should be right answer. Okay, now this is the most difficult part for me. So since we are going to build an application, we'll also have to test it. So let's say my database has at least 5 questions. So we have our database all set. The next sheet that we'll set up is the set quiz. Okay, now this is the sheet where the quiz master should be able to set the number of questions and the timing on this quiz application. So let's start. But before he can do that, he or she can do that, the quiz master should also be able to see the number of questions that are there in the database. So let's create total questions in database. And this we can get by using the count A formula. Start bracket, and I can select column A of database minus 1. Why minus 1? The minus 1 is used to exclude the header row. Count A otherwise would give us 6. I want to exclude the header row, so there are 5. So count A minus 1, and it correctly gives me 5. Okay. In B3, that is where, let's say, total questions in quiz. This is what the quiz master needs to set. So let's say 3 questions. Once this is done, the next thing I need to do is give an option to the quiz master to set the time. So let's say this section is for hours, minutes, and total time. Okay, so here the user can enter hour and minutes. The quiz master can enter hours and minutes. And this total time, it is nothing but the combination of these two. But at the same time, we have to be careful because we need to account for both singular and plural forms when displaying time. So if the user enters 1 hour, it should display 1 hour. But if they enter more than 1, it should say hours. Similarly, the same logic will apply for minutes. If no minutes are entered, the time will be displayed in hours only, and vice versa. So how can we achieve this? I'm going to quickly write a formula and then I'll explain it. And we are done. Let me quickly explain what am I doing here. Let's understand this part first. So this part checks if a value is entered for hours in cell C5. And if there is a value entered, then this checks if the entry is greater than 0. If it is, then it continues ahead. This part, what it does is it appends the entered number of hours to the text. For example, if C5 is 2, then this becomes 2 space. Here I am checking if the number I'm checking the number of hours is exactly 1. If it is 1, then I want to show hour. If it is more than 1, then I want to show hours. Basically taking care of singular and plural. Right. In this, what I'm doing is this part adds the word and between hours and minutes, but only if both hours and minutes are entered. If both are greater than 0, it adds and between the two. If either C5 or C6 is 0, it returns an empty string. This is exactly what this does. But this caters to the minutes part. Okay, let's test it. So if I type 1 in the hour section, I get 1 hour. If I type 2, I get 2 hours. Similarly, if I type 1, I get 1 minute. If I type 2, I get 2 minutes. And if I delete the hours, I will get 2 minutes. So it's working. Now, this is a quiz of 3 questions. So it should not take more than 1 minute. So I'm going to set it as 1 minute. Okay. I would also recommend naming the ranges. So C2, this is total questions in database. Let's call it total DB questions. Okay, and this is quiz, so total number of quiz, so I'll call it total quiz questions. Oops. Yeah, total quiz questions. Right, this is done, and this we will call total time. So there are 3 name ranges that we have here: total DB questions, total quiz questions, and total time. Okay, this is done. What next? Okay, this is done. Let's go to the quiz. I'll come to take the quiz, or rather we'll do that. So take the quiz. I have already inserted, I have already created the images. So I'm going to directly get that image in, which is this particular image. Let's make it small. I'm going to remove the grid lines. Okay, I'm not going to do anything else for the moment, but what ideally should happen is when the user clicks on this, the quiz should start. So we will code that later. Moving on to the quiz worksheet. Here, what I would do is I will copy these headers and I will paste it here. And I will add two more headers here: right answer, your answer, and next to it, result. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do here. Okay, it seems like it started raining. Okay, so here we'll have the questions, the options, and the right answer, the participant's answer, and the result. Okay, this is done. Let's move on to designing the user forms. Click on Developer tab, click on Visual Basic. You can also press Alt F1 shortcut key to open the Visual Basic editor. If you're unfamiliar with the Visual Basic editor, be sure to check out my video titled Visual Basic Editor and Introduction. Let's insert the first user form and let's name it Launch Quiz. So I'm going to insert the user form, and what I will do is I will quickly design the form and then I'll walk you through what I have done. And we are done. So what I'm doing exactly here is I'm informing the user that there are X number of multiple choice questions and the user has Y amount of time to complete the quiz. The X and Y values will be pulled from the set quiz sheet, which is here. These are the values that it will pick it up during runtime. Okay, so then we also have two buttons. So this is button start and button cancel. This button will start the quiz and this button will abort the quiz. So this design is done. I'll do the coding later on. Let me design the next user form. So the next user form is quiz. Once again, I'll insert a user form. I'll call it quiz. I'm going to design this as well quickly and then I'll explain what I'm doing here. I have set the caption of this form as quiz. I'm using a frame control here to show the current question number in the format question X of Y, which will be calculated and displayed during runtime. For example, question 1 of 3, question 2 of 3, and so on. Below that, I've placed labels here. Okay, so this is for the question and these are the 4 options. Let me quickly check. Yes, everything looks okay. If you wish, you can move it slightly up and move this up as well. Okay. So here I have put a label which I will use later on. This will show the remaining time for the quiz. On the right side, we have 4 buttons. This is for the previous, to navigate back to the previous question. This is to move forward to the next question. This is to submit the answers and end the quiz. And this is to cancel the quiz. So when the form launches, the previous button will be disabled. One moment, I'll do that. This will be disabled because obviously when the quiz launches, this will be the first question. There will be no more questions before the first question. So obviously this will be disabled. Okay, it will be only enabled once the user clicks on the next button. In that code, I'm going to enable the previous button. I've also gone ahead and I have named the controls accordingly. I've named this as Q, I've named this as A, B, C, D. I've named it as opt A, opt B, opt C, opt D. This is button previous, button next, button submit, and button cancel. So I've named them accordingly. Next, I will design the score form. So give me a moment while I do that. This is a very simple form with just two controls, a label and a multi-column list box. The label will display the user's final score, while the list box will list all the questions along with the correct answers and the participants' answers, allowing them to compare and see where they made any mistakes. And this will be pulled up from this particular worksheet, from here to here, these columns. Before we go ahead, let's quickly save it. Desktop, I'm going to save it on desktop. Give me a moment. Quiz master, and save. Okay, let's go back to the code. So we have the three forms. Okay, the next step, as I've mentioned many times in the past, I love using sheet code names. So let's give our sheets code names. So this is database, I'll call it WSDB. Then this is set quiz, I will call this WS launch. WS launch. Then take the quiz, I've already done that. Oh, WS launch is, this should be WS settings. Take the quiz should be WS launch. And this is simply WS quiz. Perfect. So we have given sheet code names. Now let's close everything. I'm going to close the immediate window as well. The first thing we'll code is the quiz launch process. So when the participant clicks on this particular icon, the welcome form should pop up. So let's write a code for that. I'm going to insert a module, and let's call this module launch the quiz. Okay, and let's create a procedure here, and let's call the procedure welcome user. So sub welcome user. Before we go ahead, let's go back to the worksheet. Now right click on this image and click on assign macro and click on welcome user. So when the user clicks on this, the welcome user procedure will run. Before we go ahead and we write the code for the quick launch, let's understand what the logic of this procedure will be like. So before launching the quiz, the few checks that we need to do is, first we need to check if there are any questions in the database. If there aren't, then we'll alert the participant to inform the quiz master. Next, we'll verify whether any questions have been selected for the quiz. Lastly, we'll check if a time limit has been set. These three checks can be verified from the set quiz worksheet. Once everything is confirmed, we'll proceed to launch the launch quiz user form. So let's get into coding. I'll quickly write the procedure and then I'll walk you through it. So let's quickly see what we are doing here in this code. Here I have declared three variables. These variables are storing values from the named ranges, which is total questions in the database, total quiz questions, and total time. And then I'm checking whether they are empty or not. And if they are empty, I'm alerting the participant to inform the quiz master. And if everything is okay, then the launch quiz will show. So let's test it. The moment I click on it, it gives me an error. Why? Total time as long. Obviously, this should be string. Okay, let's go back, click on this, and you will see that the launch quiz form is launched. It says you will be presented with blah, blah, blah. Okay, so this means none of these conditions were true. But what if I delete this? So the questions have not been set for the quiz. Now, if I go back and I click on it, I will get a message, quiz questions not set, inform quiz master. So this part is done. Okay, next we will work on the launch quiz user form. In the forms user, okay, let me think it through. Okay, what we'll do is in the initialize event of this form, I'm going to populate the X and the Y. So these are the total number of questions and the time limit values. Okay, so I'll quickly write the code and then I'll explain what it does. So what am I doing here? In this code, I'm taking the message from the label 1 caption, which is this message. And then I am replacing the X in that message with the total quiz questions value. And then I am replacing Y with the total time value. And then I'm putting that message back in that label. Then there are two buttons. This is the start and this is the cancel. The start will unload this particular form and show the quiz form. And this will simply unload the form. So let's go ahead and let's test it. So it should show me 3 questions in 1 minute. Okay, so let's test it. There you go. You will be presented with 3 multi-choice questions. You have 1 minute to complete the quiz. So it's working. Great. Now moving on to the next form, which is quiz. So now we will code this quiz form. So in this quiz forms initialize event, what I will do is I will generate 3 random numbers. The number of random number corresponds to the number of questions set by the quiz master. So if the quiz master has set 3 questions and we have 5 questions in the database, so let's go to the database. So I want 3 random numbers. The numbers that I'm looking for will start from 2 and end in 6. So what I want to do is I want to write a procedure that takes 4 parameters, a minimum number, a maximum number, the required number of unique values, and a dictionary object. I will use these to generate 3 unique numbers. Yeah, so the minimum number will always be 2. Yeah, because that's where the questions start from. The maximum number is nothing but the last row in the database. And the required count will be 3, which is this value, total questions in the quiz. And obviously, I'm using the dictionary object to store those 3 numbers. And once I get 3 random numbers, let's say I get 3, 5, and 6. So what I will do is I will copy the values from 3, 5, and 6 and I will paste them here. So every time the form launches, the numbers will be random and those questions and their options will be pasted here along with their right answer. Yeah. And when the user enters a value in the quiz form, any kind of option, his answer will be recorded here. And then here I will check if this is equal to this, and if this is equal to this, then this will either show true or it will show false. At the same time, what I would also like to do is I also want to calculate the values of X and Y at runtime. So when the form loads, obviously X will be 1, Y will be 3, because that's the total number of questions. But as the user navigates through the form, then X and Y should automatically calculate. So it will be something like question 1 of 3, question 2 of 3, question 3 of 3, and so on. So it has to be dynamically calculated. Additionally, During the initialization event, I will populate these questions and their multiple choice options. Let me quickly write the code and then I'll explain how it works. Now let's understand the VBA code. This code initializes the user form by randomly selecting questions from a database and displaying them on the form. So let's understand the breakup of this. So DB questions, we already know, stores the total number of questions in the database, and it is retrieved from the named range total DB questions. This is quiz questions. This stores the total number of quiz questions to be displayed, and this is retrieved from the named range total quiz questions. This is the dictionary object. This is to store the unique random numbers, as I earlier explained. The row number stores the current row number of the randomly picked question. This is what I'm using so that when I am populating the values in the quiz, I use that row number. And the last row. This keeps track of the row number in the quiz worksheet. It is initialized to 2, so it starts from here and it keeps on going. Right, so the first step is to clear all the data from the quiz worksheet. So I want all the data from rows 2 to the last row. I'm deleting everything. I'm clearing the sheet for generating more numbers, more questions rather. Then here I am calling the procedure get generate random. So this procedure is, I've coded it here. What this does is the generate random procedure generates a set of unique random numbers between row 2 and the last row. Yeah, so it takes care of that. And once I get the random numbers are stored in the dictionary, and then I'm looping through the dictionary and I'm pulling those values from, let's say, let me give you an example. If I get, let's say, 1, 3, and 5, so I've got 3 random numbers, or rather not 1, 3, and 5, 2, 4, and 6. I'm talking about the row numbers, not serial numbers. So I get 2, 4, and 6. Then what my code is doing, it is copying this data and putting it here, one below the other. So every time the form launches, it will give me random numbers and then I'm populating it there. I'm also entering a formula here, which is equal to this equal to this. This means if the right answer is equal to your answer, then this will return true, which I will use later to calculate the score. If this is not equal to this, then obviously this will be false. Okay, and here what I am doing is I'm getting the current question. So this is where I am populating the frame caption, question 1 of 3, something like that. So this is what I am doing here. And then I'm also storing the result, not the result, the questions and the options. I'm populating basically these labels. So I'm populating that from this range C, D, E, and F. So this is what it is doing. So let's go ahead and let's run it to check whether it is working or not. So right now there are no questions here. Let's click on this. Welcome screen, yes. And the question has been populated. Capital of France, Madrid, Berlin, France, New Delhi. So this is working just fine. The next step is to code the next button. In the next button's functionality, the first step will be to check if the, sorry, this is the next, not this. So I'll be coding the next button. In the next button, I will check if the previous button is enabled or not. If it is not, then I'll enable it to allow the user to navigate back. Next, I will verify the status of the option buttons. Yeah, I will check if the participant or the user has made a selection or not. If they have made a selection, then I will save that choice so that when the user moves forward and comes back, yeah, then their selection is retained. Yeah, so we have to think of all this. Additionally, when the next button is pressed, the question count and the row number will also increment. The frame caption will also update accordingly. So it will become question 1 of 3 will become question 2 of 3, and so on. It's important to handle the scenario where the current question also matches the total number of questions. So like I said, when the form launches, this is the first question, so the previous button is disabled. Similarly, if the user keeps on pressing next, 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 the user is bound to reach the last question. So when the user reaches the last question and the total number of questions, if they are same, then the next button should get disabled. So we'll have to take care of that. And at the same time, we'll also have to ensure that we are saving the user selections uh, at all moments, so that whenever the user comes back to that question, their choice is retained. Yeah, so I'm going to start coding now, and once I'm done, then I'll explain what am I doing. So what I did was I coded the next button, and I did exactly what I mentioned earlier. I'm checking if previous is enabled or not. If it is not enabled, I'm enabling it. Then here I am checking if any of the options are selected. If they are, then I'm storing that in the H column, which is here, so that if the user comes back, I should be able to pull up the value from here. This way the selection by the user is retained. Here I am increasing the question by 1, the question number, and the row number. Here I am populating the frame caption, question 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and so on. Here I'm checking if the current question is the same as the total quiz questions. So if both of them are, if this is equal to this, then the next button will not be enabled, it will be disabled. And here what I am doing is I am populating the question and the options by the next row number. I have already incremented it by 1. So the moment you press next, the next set of questions and options are loaded. Here I am checking if after loading this, I am checking their H value. If H value is blank, that means nothing has been selected, everything is false. But if there is a value in H, then what is it? Is it option 1, option 2, option 3, or option 4? And depending upon that option, then I am clicking on the option button. So this is how I'm retaining the user selection. The button previous is the opposite of this. So everything remains the same. Yeah, here I'm checking if button next is disabled, then I'm enabling it. This is important. Here I'm reducing the current question number and the row number by 1. Here I was incrementing it by 1. And this is fine. Here I'm checking if the current question is 1. If the current question is 1, obviously previous button will be disabled. Rest everything is same. So no changes here. What else is remaining? The submit button is remaining. I have to code this, and I have to code this as well. So cancel is pretty simple. This is unload me, and I want the submit button. So what should happen when the user clicks on submit button? So when the user clicks on submit button, an alert should prompt them to confirm if they want to end the quiz and calculate their score. So if the user selects no, then no further action will be taken. However, if they choose yes, then the code should first save the answer. Yes, that's very important. We need to save the user selection at every step wherever possible. Yeah, and once it is saved, if that is choice has been made by the user, we save that. Then the form should get unloaded and the score form should be displayed. Yeah, the code is pretty simple. So give me a couple of minutes. I'll quickly write this code. And then I will explain what the code does. So here I am asking the user if the user wants to end the quiz and calculate the score. If the user clicks on yes, then I'm storing if there are any selections and made by the user, and after that I'm unloading it and I am showing the score form. I'm yet to code the score form, but this is how it will work. So let's quickly test it. Let's go to set quiz, take the quiz. Let's click on this. This is fine. So if I right now previous is disabled, let's click on Charles Dickens. Click on next. It works. Click on cucumber. Next. H2O. Now if I go back, will it retain the options? Yes, it does. This is exactly what I was talking about. Okay, and once the user is done, the user will click on submit button. You will get the message. Are you sure you want to end the quiz and calculate the score? If I click on no, nothing happens. If I click on yes, the score form will populate. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I am going to work on the score form. We're almost done. Okay, initialize. When the score form launches, the user should be able to see the score. So the choices they made and the correct answers. This way they can understand where they went wrong. So we need to cater to that when we are initializing the user form. So let's quickly type that. Okay, the next thing that I have to do is I have to show this range in the list box. In fact, I have already done that in one of the Stack Overflow questions. Multi-column list box with Hathrout Stack Overflow. One moment. I keep on recommending this link to many people. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so let me quickly copy this. I will edit it. So WSS worksheet not required. Range we need. This is fine. This is we don't need. This is WS quiz. This is fine. And the range is up till H. Okay, H, and this should be till the last row. So we have to calculate last row as well. So dim L row is long, L row is equal to WS quiz dot range ampersand WS quiz dot rows dot count dot end Excel up dot row. So we have got the last row here. This is taken care of. This is fine. Column heads. This is fine. This is fine. Yeah, the width. So let's set the width. So first is serial number, which is fine. For the question, let's increase the width to 200. And how many columns do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 columns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 3 more. Just copy this, paste it here. The last 2 columns are options. So let's make it 150, 150. I'm talking about this. These will need more space. And this is done. Let's test it. So chemical formula of water is H2O, but I'm going to select NaCl. This I'm going to select as Apple, and Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare. See what happens when I click on submit. Are you sure you want to end the quiz? Yes, yes, yes. So I scored 2 out of 5. Why? Oh, I made a mistake. So this should be 3. So I need to change that. Rest, I can see the questions, the option 1, 2, and 3, the right answer here, and your answer. So the user can see that he went wrong here. This is fine, and this is fine. If you wish, you can make this slightly bigger. And also, we need to total quiz questions. Quiz questions. Now we'll do one last test. This time I'm going to select all correct answers. Oh, no. Next. Water is H2O. Fruit is apple. Submit. Yes. Hooray! I scored 3 out of 3. The form also is slightly bigger, which is good. You can play around with different settings and you can arrange the form. So I'll leave that to you. One last thing that we have to take care of is the timer. Yeah, so with that, our application will be completed. 1 hour, it's 1 o'clock 40, it's 1:43. So we have spent about 1 hour 22 minutes. So I should take another 10 minutes and I think we'll be on time. Okay, let's test it. Now the timer should begin when the quiz form loads, and it should continuously track and display the remaining time on the bottom. That'll be really amazing. So if there is 1 minute left, it should say 59 seconds, 58, 57, 56, and so on. That'll be so cool. So let's try and achieve that. And once the timer reaches 0, the quiz form should be unloaded and the score should be displayed. Yeah, but at the same time, when the form is unloading, remember to save that we need to save the selection, so that if the user has selected, let's say, the third option, that should be saved. So I'm going to quickly code this and then I will explain what am I doing here. So let's go ahead and let's understand what we did here. So I have created an update timer procedure here. So what it does is, before we understand this, let's go to the quiz initialize form. Here what I have done is I am taking the values of C5 and C6, which is hours and minutes, and then I'm converting it to seconds. So in 1 hour there is 3600 seconds. So this multiplied by hours plus minutes multiplied by 60, because minute has 60 seconds. Once I convert it into seconds, then I am adding them up. So time left is that many seconds. So time left, the value will be used in timer code module. I'll come to that in a moment. And here next tick is I am adding 1 second to the current time. Once that is done, I'm saying application on time, that is after 1 second, run the update timer. And in the update timer, I'm reducing the time by 1. So if there are, let's say, 100 seconds, then 100 becomes 99 and so on. And obviously then I am updating that here. So I am dividing the time left by 60 so that I can show the time accordingly. And at the same time, when the time left is less than equal to 0, what I'm doing is I'm storing the result and then I'm unloading the quiz form and showing the score. So let's test this. What the timer is for 1 minute. What I will do is I am going to just enter this value and I'm going to hold on. The timer is not quite right. First of all, the spelling of remaining is not right, and it should show 00:45. Obviously, it's a minor change, which I will take care of that. But let's see if the code unloads the form and shows the score. The score should be 1 out of 3. Let's see. 24 seconds more. Eleven, 10. I hope it works. Finger crossed. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Push. Yes, it worked. This is so cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to this channel. A special shout out to Phil. Thank you for inspiring me to create this video. I wish you all the best. In fact, best of luck with learning Visual Basic for applications. For everyone else, if you have similar requests, feel free to leave them in the comments below. However, please avoid asking me to do your homework. That I will not do. If I think your request could benefit others, I may address it. So go ahead and share your requests. Also, if you still have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and subscribe to this channel because you will instantly get an alert when my new video comes out. I'll see you soon. Bye.